Hi, this is Thomas with Believe in the Run.
This is Karl with Believe in the Run.
And today we're going to be talking to you about the Kip Run KD900X Lab. Actually, let's get something out of the way. This isn't going to be your typical review.
No.
We decided, since we went to Kenya with Kip Run, that's all this dirt you can see on the bottom of the shoe. That's officially Kenyan, clay. That we were just going to do an overview of the shoe, kind of talk about Kip Run, since it's not a brand a lot of you in the US are familiar with, and just kind of introduce you to the brand more so than give a full review of the shoe. But off the record, I really like this shoe.
So do I. Let's
just start off with, we went to Kenya, we sat down, they said they had a shoe they wanted to show us. They pulled this out. So Kip Run's a brand that comes out of Decathlon, which is apparently a very big sporting goods store in the UK and Europe. And it hasn't quite made it over the US yet. They're planning on entering our market in 2026. I don't know if Decathlon's coming or it's just going to be Kip Run shoes, but it's known for actually more budget-friendly product.
Yeah.
Now, this particular one wouldn't be one of those.
No, I believe they said the price was €300. So US, you can do the conversion, but it's basically close to 300.
Yeah.
So.
And this one is their pinnacle product. And the reason you can tell that is in their numerical system, they have like 500 for like your daily trainer and your like basic goods.
Less technology is what they were saying.
And then 900 would be their premium product. So this one is one of their premium products. So Karl, we start with a super lightweight upper. And when we first saw it, weren't we a little nervous?
Yeah, a little bit. Usually with these racing shoes, it's always like a hit or miss for me, depending, at least closer to the toe box, especially. I know off the bat, sizing was a little odd between some of the people there. I stuck with the size, which was 44, which is
you went with 44,
10.5,
which would normally be an equivalent to a 10.5 in the States. However, I always feel like Karl's foot goes closer to 11 where mine goes closer to a size 10. So I bumped it down to a 43.
Yeah.
And I found the right fit.
I did have a little bit of heel lift, but I ended up just using the other eyelet here.
Runner's loop.
Yeah, the runner's loop to get a secure fit. So it worked out for me.
Yeah, mine fit really well. And that's the thing, when you see these real minimal mesh uppers, I'm like, okay, you're giving up fit somewhere in there. And then you have a very extreme heel thing. I was like, that's going to cause a problem. But I wear tall socks, so I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
And overall, it fit fine. The other thing I was worried about, the laces.
Yeah, the laces are, especially since I use the extra eyelet, definitely not as much length. And also, I don't know, it just feels a little
They're scary. They seem like those ones that, like, if you tightened it too much, it's going to hurt over the top of your foot. You might get some lace bite.
Yeah.
And even as it goes through the lace locker here, the little tab there, that lace is right up against your foot. And I was like, that's going to be a problem. It turns out it wasn't.
Was not at all.
Never felt it.
Yeah. In the back here in the heel, they do have a little bit of padding, so it's not completely bare, but
You're not removing the insole though, that's built in.
That is a built-in insole, which was, I think you pointed that out like right away.
Do you know what was one of the most surprising things?
What's that?
So we had to get up early. We left the hotel at like 4:45. Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking I'm hallucinating or something, but the front of my shoe is glowing. Turns out this little bumper on the toe is glow in the dark.
Which is pretty cool. It's a nice little feature.
I mean, I was digging it. Like if you go to a rave or something, that'd be pretty cool. Before we get into the foams, it's got a J plate, which we were running on roads that I'd almost use trail shoes on.
Exactly.
So I was a little nervous running with a plated shoe on something like that, because usually the rigidity of a plate can like throw your ankles out if you hit a rock the wrong way.
Yeah.
But this has something called a J plate, a J-shaped plate. And it kind of created a little bit of independent suspension while still giving you that benefit of feeling the plate.
Yeah, you still got that propulsion, but it didn't feel as unstable as I thought it was going to be, just because, like you said, like every time you're turning, you kind of got that plate kind of reinforcing your movement. So, yeah, especially on those roads, I mean, there's tons of rocks. Robbie wouldn't have stood a chance there. So.
And you decided sometimes to like take a couple sprint laps on it.
Yeah, so we ran through the Rift Valley, which is basically a pretty popular spot there. But it is like basically just a dirt road, but it's definitely rolling hills. And so we took this out for about a 10K run there. And yeah, I was feeling pretty good in the beginning. I mean, it's so light and it's just so bouncy.
That's the thing. I mean, we'll get to the weight in a second,
Yeah.
but what makes it so light is you have two foams here.
Yes.
You have a PIBA core, and then wrapped around it is a TPU, expanded TPU foam, which typically when I hear expanded TPU, I'm thinking that's going to be a little bit heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got plenty of rubber here on the bottom. It might be hard for you to see with all the dirt on mine.
Yeah.
But you got to see it on Karl's there.
A little bit, yeah.
Lots of rubber. And this shoe for me weighed 6.1 ounces. What was it in grams? It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. I think the sample size was 167.
So 171 grams. It's super light, and there's tons of cushioning here. You've got a 4 millimeter offset. It's 39.35. So, Karl, I know we're not giving it a review. We're not going to give our
Traditional form fit
scores
function
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it wasn't just the Kenyan Air being 8,000 feet and suffocating.
Right.
This shoe was fun to run in. You can tell we trashed this. Between the time that we were there, I was able to get 22 miles in the shoe. The shoe looks pretty beat up, but the conditions of where we were running,
It's not going to be yeah, they're tough. You're not going to traditionally, with a shoe like this, you're going to be on the pavement. This is what it's meant for. We should also mention that according to the Kip Run athletes, this is supposed to be a 5K, 10K shoe.
Well, they said up to the half.
Up to the half, but it excels in the 5K, 10K. Honestly, everyone there, ourselves included, I mean, we think this can go the distance.
I don't understand why their athletes would say 5K to half marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got 35 millimeters underneath the forefoot.
Bouncy, light,
yeah,
propulsive.
Super light. The 10 miles we did on Moibin Road with rolling hills, it felt great. I don't know. I mean, Michael Kafuzi was there, and it's actually Michael Coe, but goes by Kafuzi. You might know who I'm talking about. He also, I think, agreed with us that this shoe could go the distance. You know, this is Kip Run. If this is a new company that's coming into the U.S. market, I'm excited to have them added in there. The Daily Trainer that we tried out was mediocre.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't anything to get too excited about. And then they did send us one other race shoe, which made me nervous to try this one because I really didn't like that one, but I forget which one that one was.
Yeah.
But this shoe I thought was a lot of fun. And if we're bringing stuff like this into the market, just for the competition, to have another race day shoe that's in the 6 ounce range for a size 10.5 or not quite a 43, whatever that is in Europe.
Yeah. I don't know. But it's a shoe that's competing against all the other top tier race shoes right now. So it's nice to see some outside, competition make their way into the field.
This was actually on the feet of Peter, who ran the Paris half marathon and came in 3rd place. He was supposed to be pacing people, but ended up just being like, I got to go.
Yeah.
And then I think also the European half record was broken in a version of this shoe as well.
Yeah. So there you go. Already some accolades. And, again, it's not going to be available in the U.S. I believe this isn't even coming out in Europe till like the fall.
Now, when we ran with those kids from Shoe for Africa, do you wish you had these on?
Yeah, I was wearing the regular trainers, and honestly, I could have used any help I could have gotten.
Dude, these little kids were smoking us.
They were dropping me.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a podcast out with Toby from Shoe for Africa. It's a personal thing now. I mean, when we went there, we checked it out. I actually donated money to them today to send over to them, and we got to see firsthand what they're doing over there. And it's one of those charities where the money's actually going to the causes and the people that they're trying to help. So that was huge for me. I don't know if it made an impression on you.
It absolutely did. I think spending the time at that Shoe for Africa, I think that was probably my favorite part of the trip.
That was mine.
Yeah. I mean, the running is cool. All the gear is cool. But I think what Kip Run, and kudos to Kip Run in general, they really wanted to show us what life was like in Kenya, because that's where they have their camp at 42 House. And it could have just been like, oh yeah, here's the shoes, here's the running.
Here's some pro runners.
Yeah, have fun, it's a vacation. But no, they really wanted to show us the full Kenyan experience, and they did. And it definitely, changed me coming back.
This was more like humbling and getting to see how fortunate we are to be doing what we do and to get to travel the world and get this kind of experience. So, part of that comes from people like you watching our reviews. So we really appreciate it. Again, it's why we value and make sure that when we give you a review, you've got all the disclosures, where we're coming from And we appreciate you tuning in and watching, and just wanted to give you a little insight into a new brand.
Yep. So keep your eye out for Kip Run coming to the US 2026.